And I'm really looking forward to the Tibetan philosophy of all what we are doing. Please, the chief guest, the Prime Minister of Tibetan Government in Exile, Shri Penpa, Tsering.
Thank you, Dr. Anil Singh ji, and also Ram Swarup ji for inviting me and to be part of this program. I feel it's my privilege to represent the Tibetan community here and also the Central Tibetan administration, whom you call as the government in exile. When Dr. Anil Singh was recounting all the stories with his old schoolmates, it sounded more like a dream come true of what you had in mind a long time ago. So this sounds more like a reunion of school friends coming together and starting a multi-speciality hospital to take care of the people around you. And I pay my respect to Dr. Mahajan for his lifelong service in saving people's life, and many other doctors. There is a galaxy of doctors here today, whom I know some, but not many of them. But during my 5 years here, I'm sure we'll get to know each other much better. We Tibetans, particularly people of my generation, I was born in South India. Whether you are born in South India or North India, wherever you are born, we consider ourselves more like an Indian, because our language came from India. Tibetan religion came from India. So that's why we call India the Aryavrat, the land of Aryans. So you are the Aryans, and we are your disciples. That His Holiness has been saying over and over again and again for many years, that you are the Guru and we are the Chelas. And for the people of Himachal Pradesh, I don't know whether Dr. Mahajan remembers or not, but way back in 1960, on the 1st of May 1960, His Holiness reached Dharamsala. And since then, Dharamsala for us has become much more an elevated status than any other place in the world, because it has now become the abode of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, which His Holiness calls his second home. His Holiness calls the Himachal chief ministers my chief ministers, whether the chief minister is coming from the Congress or BJP, because every time we have been seeing changes every 5 years, and His Holiness is very, very passionate in calling the chief ministers my chief ministers, because His Holiness lives here. And that is why for us, it's not just the government of India, but the state government of Himachal Pradesh and the people of India have been very, very supportive at the worst and the most critical period of our history. when we had to seek refuge here in India. And Dharamsala continues to be the place of attraction for those who wishes to see His Holiness, those who wishes to listen to His Holiness' wisdom. And it's also the seat of the Central Tibetan administration from where we function throughout the world. Even if the Tibetans are settled in more than 10 different states and 2 union territories in India, very widespread, and even though the larger number of Tibetans are in the state of Karnataka, Dharamsala remains the center of existence for the Tibetans. So therefore, I take this opportunity to thank the Chief Minister, the successive governments, all our friends in Dharamsala who have been supporting us for many, many years, and we will need this support till we go back to Tibet. Thank you again. Now coming back to the opening of the hospital. As I said before, this seems like a dream come true for many of you whose collaboration is making this happen. And the location of this hospital, Apex Multispeciality Hospital, as Dr. Mahajan was mentioning, lives of many patients depends on access to healthcare and as near as possible when it comes to emergencies. So that way, this multi-speciality hospital, the Apex Multi-Speciality Hospital, is the closest to the Tibetan community, even though we used to have a big civil hospital here where the doctor was talking about. Now it has been moved to Tanda, so the bigger hospitals are becoming farther away from us. The nearest, most probably, is Kangra. So therefore, the proximity of this hospital, in terms of its location, will have a direct benefit to the Tibetans. And Ram Saurabhji also asked me to issue a circular amongst the Tibetan civil servants that they would be given some discount on treatment in certain areas. Thank you very much for the special consideration for the Tibetan civil servants. Then when you talk about medicine, the Tibetan medicine, the Tibetans have this very holistic understanding of sickness and cure. It's not just the physical treatment, or it's just not the medication, but the holistic view. Not just it also includes the religious perspective, the spiritual perspective of relations between a doctor and a patient. Also, not in Tibetan thinking, it's not necessary that you get treated by every doctor and get well also. There could be a common bond of destiny between the doctors and the patients as to how helpful or how beneficial a doctor's treatment could be for the patient. So therefore, the 92-year-old lady who said you are God, because the doctors are no less than gods, because they save life. Even if you pray to gods, it's very difficult to say God's coming down and saving people's lives. So you are representing God. In that sense, for any patient, not just the Tibetans, I think doctors are God because they save lives. And for me, what is more important is also the reflection of the doctor's personality in terms of its compassion and love and care for the patient, which I find is more important. Even if a doctor is very good, if the doctor scolds the patient all the time, then patient will also feel like, oh, I don't want to see this doctor anymore because he always scolds me. Maybe the doctor is saying for the betterment of the patient, but at the same time, it's binding upon the doctors and the people who care for the patients to be more generous, to be more compassionate in dealing with people. That is also an important component, not just of treatment, but making the other person comfortable in dealing with you, in working with you, in taking medicine from you, and get cured because of your generosity. So with these few words, I pay my respect to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Because of him, we are here. Because of him, we exist. because of him, our struggle continues. I am just an ordinary person elected by the people to lead the movement, which I will do for the next little more than 4 more years. And hopefully, as Tibetans say, we hope for the best, but we have to prepare for the worst also. So there are a lot of challenges for the Tibetans going ahead. Today is also International Women's Day, and Dr. Anil Singh was very proud to introduce some of the doctors, lady doctors here. I am also proud to tell you that in my cabinet right now, we are only 4 ministers, including myself, and the 3 others are ladies. So this is for the first time that we have a 75% representation of women in the cabinet, and we are very proud of that. We just don't talk the talk, but we also walk the talk in terms of what we want to do. And today morning, we had a prayer ceremony at the temple right in front of His Holiness residence to mark the loss of lives of Tibetans. When Hu Jintao was the party secretary in Tibet, he introduced martial law on 8th March 1989. And since then, we have been observing this prayer every morning. And unfortunately, these prayers are also being held under the shadow of Ukraine's invasion by Russia, which is very, very unfortunate, even in this century, when His Holiness talks about the 21st century being a century of peace and dialogue. Unfortunately, because of some people's mindset, a lot of trouble, a lot of pain is being inflicted on mothers, on grandmothers, on small, small babies in Ukraine. Since the war started, I have been watching every minute of this war as to who is getting involved in what, and this is a big catastrophe, huge catastrophe for the human beings. And we should make sure that such things don't happen again for humanity. And with these things, I wish all the doctors, the respected doctors, for taking up this project to alleviate human suffering. And I pay my respect and good wishes for the success of this hospital, not just for you as an entrepreneur, because it's for humanity, to serve the humanity. Because the biggest problem, the 2 biggest problems humanity faces is when you are sick, then only you know that you need a lot of other friends and doctors. And the other is when you get old and there is nobody to look after you. These are the 2 moments which are most vulnerable in our lives. And these are the times when doctors come to our rescue. So I thank you very much. And I really appreciate the work that you are doing. Thank you so much.